going to say about 11 or 12, you about had it. You could take care of yourself. Now, my parents were both skaters, so I'm interested in that portion of your history because when I was little, my daddy married my mama, and I asked my mama why she married him. She said it's the only man that ever paid me attention and bought me a pair of white skates. So he had black, and she had white. And they hung out, and they got to be very well known as they were real good dancers. You know, he could throw her up and over and doing whatever y'all did back then. And what do they call that? The jitterbug? Is that a jitterbug? You remember all that boogie woogie?
Yeah.
And but they did it on the skate.
He was a professional. That's impressive. Anybody can do that. I'm sorry.
Now,
I'm talking over you. I didn't mean to do that.
No, I know there's a delay. I'm used to it, but I apologize to you, too. I just wanted to tell you that, you know, my parents. So tell me about all that skating rink because people don't know that was like what I guess that was the only thing y'all had to do. Was that it? The skating or bowling?
The little boys, if the little boys weren't picking cotton or something during the crop gathering, they would, in my case, Dad and some of the local people out of the mines and whatnot would get a card game going in the woods and under the bushes, and I set up a business. I would go to down the road and bring back a couple of half gallons of homebrew. I don't know. Some of your listeners may know what homebrew is. It's a form of beer.
White lightning.
And I bring it. No, it's not that. But I would bring it back to them, and they would give me money for doing that. And so then, when the skating rink came, we'd go over, make a little money, helping set up the rink, and if we were lucky, we got hired as skate boys. And so when we went to Dalton, I was sleeping in the front of the Kaiser automobile, and there was a man named Baxter Prater from Gordon County in Calhoun, Georgia area. He made a deal with Jack Carson. He wanted him to come down since Carson owned all of his skates and everything and had the expertise. He wanted to hire him, and Jack told him, he had me with him, and so Baxter Prater built a room on the back of the skating rink down there, one for me and one for Jack, and he made a shower for us and served us breakfast meals too down there. And then after the rink closed at night, he'd always take us up for ice cream at one of the little drive-in things down there. I remember that. But I would put my money, Teresa, in my banjo head, and I didn't go anywhere. But I was accumulating a pretty good amount of money. And one day, Jack Carson told me, he said, "Ben, go out to the car. I've got a chest, some money in it in the back of the car. I want you to get that and count it for me to see how much is in there." And I didn't know it at the time, but he was testing my honesty looking back on it. I remember as a little kid sitting in my room back there, and I had a lead pencil, and I would count it out at $100 piles, you know. And at that time, he had more than $5,000 in cash, which would be 5 or 6 times that at least today. But that was in my runaway boy part of moonshineon.com. Now, looking back on it, he was checking me for honesty there, you know. But by the time one day, my brother that was in the Army, he was a Green Beret. He was home on leave, and I guess they asked where I was at, and Mother got him to bring her over to Calhoun to check on me. And I was happy to see him especially, and the family too, that I just got in the car and went home. And that was the last time I saw Jack, you know. And didn't take me long at home, so until I wasn't very happy at home, and from there we moved down to Woodstock, Georgia, and then that's where I did my farming down there, So that was the story of the banjo. But did you want to know about the rest of my picking or anything, Teresa?
Your Army? Did you say what did you say you did? You said that was the rest.
It was my brother that was a Green Beret, a paratrooper. He was a master sergeant in the Green Beret paratroopers. And,
so you want to talk about that, or did is that that's not the petty officer that served on the ship?
This is another brother. He's in the Army. Yeah, this one's in the Army. Here, this one is. He's also
we'll go back unless you want to do the picking first, but
either way, he just. I'll
well, go ahead. I want to cover your picking too, but let's do your Army, and then we'll go back to your picking with the Bill boy.
The picking business, I kept a little banjo. Nobody ever helped me much with it at all. And in the Navy, I guess it was Omaha, Nebraska, I decided to get serious about banjo playing, and I bought a banjo. And bought a Earl Scruggs instruction book, and it was written in tablature. And each day when I left the command there, I'd go home and in the bedroom, and I would read the tablature in it and teach myself the banjo rolls and some simple songs. And I got better. And then when I went to New Orleans, I found a person down there that taught banjo, and he was a college graduate. He rented one of those old antebellum houses, and he had a pretty good clientele built up. But I only got to go to him for maybe 4 or 5 lessons before I retired, and I asked him what could he do to speed me up, and he showed me some finger formations, 4-finger chords up and down the banjo. So when I retired, I took that to Georgia, and then picking with the brother-in-laws, at least once a week we'd get together in somebody's house and play, and I started getting better. And eventually we had a little band that we played in called the Murray County Ramblers. And
wow.
we played around. And in Pensacola, we had a little band that was called the Good Timers. And it had a man in there that was a retired high school dean, and he would drive up in his Lincoln and open that trunk up, and the only instrument he played was a wash tub with a broom handle. Did you ever see one of those? You put a string in the middle of the tub and your broom handle on the side, and you change the pitch. He loved to play music. He would play it night and day. Oh yeah. So that we played there, and then after as time went on, back in Georgia, I kept playing and getting better. Then I started teaching and taught for 3 years or more, and basic guitar, but I could teach more intricately with the 5-string banjo. So I taught for 3 years. I still play to this day, so I'm both instruments.
Wow!
But I just like to do it.
84-year-old picking. You're 84 and you can still pick a banjo and a guitar.
Yeah. The Lord's blessed me a lot, Teresa. I've been greatly blessed by the Lord, and I can still think clearly, and I can still do computer work and still build websites. So I'm definitely blessed.
Wow. Well, we got a lot to talk about. Not to mention, Richard, you got some questions for this gentleman here, because we can get into the Army pick. Now, Richard knows Army. My husband was Army, but Richard But we can talk about the Army. Richard, do you want to ask them some questions here? Or we can go into the Bill Monroe picking guy that was he worked with, but I don't know if Richard's into music. Richard, I know he's in the Army. So Richard,
I used to play guitar ages and ages ago in my teens.
All right. Yeah.
So, like you, I took some lessons, and then I transferred from regular string guitar to electric guitar, and I played that for a little while. But yeah, I mean, obviously you've got a very colorful story going on here. I mean, backwoods boy that planted his own cotton and took it to the mill and generated money off of it and all that kind of stuff. And then, of course, the roller rink deal, and then in turn the Navy.
Yeah.
And now, of course, you're into music. So where do we go on from here? I mean,
I just love to learn. I keep learning as I go, Richard. And
oh yeah.
It's music, as you know, is it's very interesting, and it can be challenging also. So it's a wonderful thing. You got 7 basic notes, as you know, and counting the steps in between, there are 12 tones, and 7 basic notes. The Lord made it possible for an infinite number of melodies that can be written around the world. That's a miracle in itself,
True.
All the wonderful songs that are out on the airwaves, they're coming out of those 7 notes there. That seems impossible,
Yep. I mean, we got a large history of music in all kinds of contexts and all kinds of cultures and all kinds of. It's endless.
It is. It is endless, and music it's a wonderful thing, It's a miracle in itself, what can be done with it, I don't read music. I can just the rudiments of it. I know the structure of it and whatnot. But the songs that I put together for teaching, I wrote my own tablature for that.
Wow.
And it was easier to teach with my own tablature. You see, so it worked well for me.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
What were you
asking,
we got
to get into I was asking about that Bill Monroe guy, because Richard, when I lived up in Kentucky for 20 years, and I was helping with this gentleman named Dr. Doc Mercer.
Yeah, Doc Mercer.
And on RFD channel. And he was a veterinarian, and I got one of the first certificates with the Bill Monroe Foundation, and then they turned out, because we weren't attaching them with no money, we're just anyway, we had the Bill Monroe Foundation house, raised enough money to redo the house in Ohio County, and had Bill Monroe come up there and at the barn and meet with the bluegrass boys. But I asked him if he knew any bluegrass, and he does, and then he was telling me he was picking with one of the old bluegrass boys with Bill Monroe, but he didn't get to pick with him, which is not too many people. I mean, a lot of people did, but that was during the Blossom Festival in Indiana.
Yeah,
but go ahead, tell them about your history with that one
story.
Man.
Oh yes, that was the legendary Raymond Fairchild, banjo genius, 5-time national champion banjo player, and he started out. He was just very poor over in the North Carolina mountains in the Maggie Valley area, and he would kind of stay at this old man's house. His name was Sutton, and Sutton had gotten some of the boys that could play a little music together, and he would put cans on the side of the street, little tip jars. So when the tourists would come through Maggie Valley, they would hear the band playing, and they'd come up and put tips in the jar. So Raymond got to stay there some with Mr. Sutton, and he served meals